What's good, electricians? So, Electric e-bikes flew myself and a bunch of the other big e-bike channels out to Tempe, Arizona in late February for the unveiling of the new Lectric ONE e-bike, which you're going to see here in just a moment. Shout out to my fellow YouTubers. I got to meet Jeremiah McIntosh for the first time, David Brand New, Chris from e-bike Products, Ryan from e-bike Escape, Mike from Electric Revolution, Andrew at Freshly Charged. Got to hang out, ride e-bikes all day. It was just a fantastic time. Electric was a great host, putting us up there in Tempe, Arizona, downtown by ASU. And we had a really great time just talking e-bikes, exploring the streets there of Tempe, and going on some rides as well. I'll do a second video of the ride footage from the actual trip. But today you're going to hear Robby and Levi talk about the new Lectric ONE. They're going to break down everything for you. It's a really nice e-bike, guys. It's a banger, and I think you're going to love it. It's also going to be their most expensive e-bike yet, but wait till you hear what's inside this e-bike, because it is unheard of in the e-bike world, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. But shout out to my fellow e-bike YouTubers, and here is Robby and Levi, the founders of Lectric, talking about the new Lectric
When
ONE.
I think of Lectric and where we've taken it so far, there's a lot to be proud of what we've accomplished. The innovation, from that first LX bike was not very good. We only sold about 40 of those. But then the XP 1.0 and the progression to that, to the 2.0, and we successfully have made the XP the #1 selling folding bike in the United States, but it is also the #1 selling e-bike just in general. And so that's something we're really excited and proud of. But that was, all Robby and I could handle at that time. And then we added, bandwidth. This is, many of you have gone and seen our facility and interacted with team members at Lectric beyond just Robby and myself. And you get to see that there's more to us. And because there's more to us, our ceiling is raised. We're able to do more. We are now able to do things like a electric tricycle. And so we do an XP trike, and that becomes not just the #1 selling electric tricycle in the United States, but the #1 selling adult tricycle, period. And so we do that, and it's been 1 year of that, and we're pretty stoked. Then, a couple weeks after that, we followed up with the Expedition, the cargo bike. One of the bikes Robby and I have, worked on for so long, and it really was scratching that itch we had of tackling car miles. We wanted something that could take cars off the road, be a real transportation solution. That's what we were interested in. And so we launched the Expedition, and just last week it hit its 1-year anniversary, and I'm pleased to say that over the last 12 months, it was the #1 selling electric cargo bike in the United States. And so #1 selling bike, #1 selling folding bike, #1 selling trike, #1 selling cargo. We just #1, and it's always in this form of quantity, right? We're always #1 in the best selling and everything. We have more bikes and keep launching bikes, and we're going after that. Second place just means you're the first loser. That is the motto here at Lectric. And so we are only interested in those #1 positions. When we started this company, we talked to Brent, my dad, and we were babies, and he was coaching us on how you guys will probably never have the #1 bike, right? Just in terms of the recommendation, what is the best bike that you could do? But he said, so because if you're going to do that, it's going to be north of $10,000. You're going to need all this crazy componentry, and what we want you guys to do is focus on doing, being the #1 in service, because that's something you can control. You can control how much attention and effort you put in to customer service, customer experience. And I would hope that the things that you hear and I would say our NPS reflects that we do, act on that. We do have the #1 customer service in the industry. So it's just like #1. But it really bothered me when my dad said, you know, you just won't have the number one bike. Like, what if you tried, like, it's probably almost impossible to have the number one bike in a category, but also still be ranked number one just in terms of the spec and the bike itself. But I think the key word in that phrase is the word almost. So what I would like to introduce with the help of Robby is the one, the only, the Lectric ONE. What did we just do here? We just broke the industry in terms of componentry selection, and I'm just going to jump right to the headline of this bike, which is the drivetrain. So you're going to see some representation from Pinion and Gates here today, but if you want to be the best, you can only work with the best. There's no substitution for it. You have to work with the best. And that is what we're interested in doing. We wanted to collaborate with the industry leaders in componentry in order to make the best commuting bike possible. You can tell that we're going after every segment, the folding, the trike, the cargo, the off-road, the adventure, but we have ignored the commuting where there's the most opportunity to go after car miles. So if we're going to go after it, we have to go after it with a haymaker. And so what we're staring at right now is we did not do Pinion and Gates just to do those names. We did the best Pinion system. We did the best Gates system. We have a Pinion C1, which means they're best that they offer. C1 6-speed I. So it has the electronic smart shift, so semi-automatic shifting built into it. We then pair that system with a Gates CDC, their second best belt they offer in their bike division, paired with a CDX sprocket, which is the best sprocket they offer over there at Gates. So this drivetrain that we've elected to do, well, Rob, I think it's probably a good idea for you to explain where the drivetrain even is, and let me flip this around for the folks.
Sure. So for those who aren't familiar, belt drives are kind of the ideal solution for commuting bikes, right? They're clean, they're quiet, they're reliable, and they're long lasting, right? They last 2 to 3 times as long as your traditional chain. You basically need to do zero maintenance on this thing, right? So when you go out and you ride in the rain and you're worried about your chain getting rusty or something else, forget about that with the belt, right? It doesn't happen. You can be assured that when you get on this thing, it's gonna work for you. It's gonna be there every day, day in, day out. So when we're thinking about building a commuter, our minds went straight to belt drive, right? But then thinking about the rest of the build and staying true to what makes electric and offering this fantastic experience, we knew we wanted high speed, right? We wanted class 3 performance, and we wanted an awesome throttle on this thing. And we wanted high torque, right? And so we're known for that across all of our bikes. We have these super powerful hub motors with the 20-inch wheel. The acceleration is out of this world, and it's like riding around on a mini spaceship, basically. And so we knew we wanted to go hub drive, and we knew we wanted to go belt drive. Now you may be asking yourselves, well, if you have a hub drive and you have a belt drive, how are you going to change gears? Because you can't have a derailleur when you have a belt drive, right? So logically, the gears need to go somewhere, and so they go up here in the BB, and that's the Pinion system that Levi's talking about, right? So the derailleur, the gears, they're all situated inside of that Pinion gearbox up front, and you've got 6 gears up there, right? So you get that huge maintenance advantage of the belt drive paired with the Pinion 6-speed up front. And the awesome thing about the Pinion is it also is super reliable and super low maintenance. So basically the only thing that you have to be worried about with this Pinion thing is that you don't have to be worried about it, right? I mean, like, you really only need to change the oil on the Pinion system every 6,000 or 7,000 miles, and that's it. Otherwise, this thing just runs, right?
Or
so
adjusting
between
your derailleur, no, and it works instantly. There is no, by the time you think that I am shifting, you have shifted. You have electronic shifting that is happening right the moment it's already in the next gear by the time you thought that it needed to go. So there's that aspect, that instantaneous delivery. But that's, you know, Robby and I ride different, right? And so I think if you're making an investment into a gearbox like this, you really want it to be tailored to your riding experience. Because Zach from VPL, this is Pinion's North America division. Zach, how much, what's the cheapest bike in the United States that uses these Pinion Smart Shift system?
It's right around $13,000.
Right around $13,000 is the cheapest bike in the United States that uses the Pinion Smart Shift. Right, so that's an investment. If you're buying a bike at that price point, you expect it to be tailored to your needs. And I would say Pinion has delivered on customization, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So with the Smart Shift gearbox, you know, not only are you getting electronic shifting like Levi mentioned, right? So there's no cables going from the shifter up at the handlebars down to the gearbox. It's all, you know, some of you may be familiar with steer by wire. We're shifting by wire with this thing, right? So it makes it super reliable.
No cable stretch.
No cable stretch, nothing to maintain there. But then they take it a step further with this semi-automatic smart shifting. So you've got electronic shifting, you've got 6 speeds, but then you have the Pinion Smart Shift app. And so what that app allows you to do is dial in exactly when, where, and how this thing shifts. So when we say it's semi-automatic shifting, and you'll all get an opportunity to do this in a moment, you set your riding cadence, so you may prefer to pedal a little more slowly, maybe 45 RPM, or you may prefer to pedal at 90 RPM, you know? And you can dial that in with the Pinion system and say, okay, I like a cadence of 60 RPM, and then it will automatically shift you to put you in that comfortable cadence when you get there. So you'll experience this, and I always say riding is believing, so you guys will, you know, I can say these things, but really when you feel it, you'll get there and understand. And not only will it automatically upshift for you as you speed up, it'll also downshift for you as you slow down. So again, for those super hardcore commuters, what that means is as you're coming up to a stoplight, you're pulling the brakes, you're slowing down, and the gearbox, the sensors on this bike, they're recognizing that, and it's automatically downshifting for you. So when you get to that stoplight and you come to a stop, you're already back in gear 1. So when you want to get going again, it's right there for you. And you can set that start gear. If you don't want to start in gear 1, you can start in gear 2, you can start in gear 3. That's all adjustable through the app. And the other thing is, if you don't want to use the Smart Shift and you prefer to shift by yourself, you can turn the Smart Shift off via the app as well. And what's really cool about this that we haven't even touched on is with a normal derailleur setup, you have to be pedaling in order to shift the thing. This, you don't need to be moving the bike at all or pedaling. You can just shift at a stop, no worries at all. It'll go through those gears for you. So the modularity, the adjustability that you get to dial in your ride with the Pinion Smart Shift app is cutting edge. It's leading the industry. There's no better technology out there.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about this drivetrain. We've hit on a little bit about the motor, but you know that was one of the things that we cared a lot about when designing this bike. Is I did not come from the cycling industry. I came from, I just like putting motors on things, right? Robby and I just wanted to at first just make things go fast and have fun. And some of you who have been with us in the very beginning, we didn't even know there were legal parameters. So the very first XP prototype was 35 miles per hour. So, you know, it's been a journey for us. But so we really like that throttle experience, and that's another decision we made of why not do and the reality is you just don't get a very good throttle experience when you do mid-drive systems. So the throttle is there, but it is incredibly powerful, and the most powerful of not just Lectric's lineup, but in terms of a 3-class e-bike, the fastest, most powerful. So this bike comes in at 55 pounds, and it's rocking a 750 watt motor. So that means it has the highest watt to weight ratio of any electric bicycle in the industry. So because it has so much power, it's peaking out at 1300 watts, and it weighs so little, it truly is a rocket ship when you dump that throttle. So I think there are waivers and everything, and those that are brave can maybe talk to the product team to get some of the settings to unlock that throttle to experience that, but you have to be leaning over it. We were talking yesterday about, you know, when are you going to make a bike that could beat a Stromer ST7 off the line? This is that bike that can beat a Stromer ST7 off the line. And so this is a true rocket, and so for that customer that enjoys that throttle experience, they're really going to enjoy this bike. So we've paired it with the Stealth M24, so it's incredibly quiet. This whole package is meant to be quiet. If you're riding day in and day out, you don't want to hear gears clunking around. You don't want to hear chain. All of that is quieted. You got to have a motor that's paired with that as well, that dampens sound. Now we can talk a little bit about the cockpit, should we?
Sure.
So obviously, well, you know what I think is cool, which we completely missed, because we're talking about the drivetrain and we're talking about the motor, is the sensor that's being used on this bike. So those that know, I really love cadence sensors, because if I'm going 28 miles per hour, I don't want to have to be working out and sweating anytime I'm going 28 miles per hour. I want to choose my workout when I want to work out. And those that know me know I don't like to work out. So I like going fast, and I don't want to be cranking on it in order to go there. But we did want to upgrade the cadence sensor technology that is in this. So those that are familiar with Lectric know that we have been doing 12 magnet cadence sensors, and there's been a bit of an upgrade to not 12 and not 24. We actually went to a 96 magnet resolution for this. So 8 times the resolution of our normal systems, you know, the ones that you're familiar and love on Expedition, we got 8 times more resolution and quicker response and interaction between your pedal stroke and that. Did I cover all that?
Yep.
Beautiful. Alright, so with this system, you've obviously got to pair it with hydraulic brakes, so we've done that. We've done hydraulic brakes with 180 millimeter rotors. But what we've also done, this is our first color display. So we've changed the display to a color display, and there's all sorts of things that you guys will be able to see with it. New iconography to help you better understand and interact with your bike. When it's in walk mode, you see a little stick figure walking. You see headlights on, but you have a power meter, so you can see when you're using 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 watts. It's now telling you in the power meter and the range estimations as well. So depending on the gear you put it in, it will tell you how, you know, what your anticipated range is. So there's that. Anything else I'm missing in the?
Nope, you got it.
Beautiful. Let's talk a little bit, because this was something you were very passionate about, the frame that we've done here and the dimensions of the bike and why we made those decisions for the bike itself.
Sure. So, you know, some of you might be thinking, you know, a lot of traditional commuters still use 700C wheels, 650B, whatever it may be. And, you know, the decision for us our legacy is folding bikes, right? 20-inch wheeled bikes. And when we really sat down at the drawing board and we're like, okay, what should this commuter bike look like? We were thinking to ourselves, like, why are all of these other commuter bikes using these larger wheel sizes? You really don't get any real advantage out of that. And so we're like, let's just stick with what we know. Let's do the 20-inch wheels. And what that ends up doing is saves a lot of weight. Getting down to that 55 pounds is a huge deal. We've mentioned the Stromer here, right? The only other bike with this system on there, and that thing's like just shy of 100 pounds, you know? And so for us, maximizing the utility of this so somebody can still carry this up to their apartment or whatever it is was hugely important. And so the 20-inch wheels come in huge there. Also, you know, Lectric, we're trying to be efficient with our business so that we can pass those savings onto the consumer. And so we have one frame size here today. And so going with the 20-inch wheels and this step-through geometry allows riders of all shapes and sizes to get on this thing. We also have the same stem and stem riser as on the Expedition, so you can adjust your handlebars. So you really, you know, we were really intentional with every one of these decisions on this bike when it comes to the geometry, the weight, everything like that. Not only on these, you know, the technical, the numbers side of things, but the styling of this bike is something that we really spent a lot of time on. So you'll notice once you get up close and personal that there are a number of smooth welds on this thing. And we've done some hydroformed tubing. The down tube is hydroformed, the carry handle is hydroformed. We spent a lot of time thinking to ourselves, how can we make this thing look as good as it feels, right? And so this is actually also the first Lectric product where front to back, the entire frame and fork is all designed in-house by our engineers at Lectric e-bikes. And that's something that, you know, as we were talking about today, I was really excited to share, because I think there's still sometimes is the perception out there that I'm sure you guys are well aware of that, you know, Lectric is just white labeling, you know, bikes and just bringing in whatever off the shelf. And this is, you know, the crown jewel of Lectric engineering now, right? This is, you know, handcrafted and done by, you know, the great team over there. So hats off to all of the product guys on this one. They absolutely crushed it with the styling, love the paint job, everything like that. The front lights, the rear lights, integrated. All of the cabling is routed internally for those lights, and there's actually channels underneath the fenders to hide those cables. The, you know, fender stays up front. You know, that was a real intentional decision. I'll also say we included some functionality on these lights, so the brake light does function on this bike, as well as there are different flashing modes. So again, like, if you're a commuter, being seen, safety, super important. We've got the sidewall.
On both the front and the back.
Both the front and the back, yep. And then we've got the sidewall reflective strip as well. So, you know, while it is a black bike, you're going to be able to be seen out there. So.
The front fork weight was a huge consideration.
Yeah, so it's a totally aluminum front fork, which is something that, you know, we haven't done before. Again, like, weight was a huge consideration for us. Another thing is it's suspension corrected, and so if a customer wants to swap a suspension fork on this thing, it's going to ride real well still and still be nimble and everything like that. It's also a through axle, so this bike is going to ship with the front wheel off, but all you have to do is pop that front wheel in via the through axle, and that's the only assembly step. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, toolless assembly, you know, can be done in under a minute, and that is something that, you know, one of the reasons Lectric has been successful is because the bikes ship without a hassle. You don't have to take it to a bike shop for it to be built or anything like that. You can just, for some of them, just unfold it and ride. And for this one and the recent XP, is simply just putting the wheel in, using that through axle, and you're riding in under a minute. So really carrying still and staying true to the core DNA of Lectric, which is experience. So this is, you know, although this is the one product and it's sitting in its own world compared to the XP series of the Expedition and XP and what have you, this is still very much Lectric in terms of the experience that we want someone to have when they buy from us.
I think we've covered pretty much everything. The only other thing I was going to say is with the through axle, you know, I personally don't have a huge car, so popping that front wheel off, folding the handlebar stem, and then we have the removable pedals on this product as well, just like on the Expedition and the X-Peak, so you can throw this thing in a trunk really easily.
Yeah. So, price point, right? There's an expectation with Lectric that we have to wow people. And we have to do things that have never been done before. And so, you know, you got to balance with the componentry selected. If you were to go to a bike shop and let's say you're wanting a custom build to be done, and you go to them and say, hey, I would love a Pinion C1, 6i. You're not getting that paired with a Gates CDC CDX combo for under $3,000 for just those two components. You're just, if you get it for $3,000, you almost robbed that bike shop, and then you got to build the rest of your bike. And so when talking to Zach and you know, for Pinion, I was having a conversation with them a while ago, and we were talking. I gave him the spec and everything, and he made a recommendation, you know, that we could tear it up if we were at that $6,000 price point, because it would be so much lower than the competition that is using this system. That was early in Zach and I's relationship, and he obviously wasn't familiar with my date. And so we then had some conversation, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to get this thing under $4,000? And so that was the goal, and we progressed towards that. But then we did something a little crazy, and $39.99 was cool, but then we placed the largest order in Pinion history. And that can get you access to some componentry at prices. We basically bought up all that capacity of the Smart Shift system because if you look at the US market, there's probably only 200 bikes in the US in total that have this system. We got 20 here right now. And so that didn't seem cool anymore at $3,900. And so I really wanted to surprise people. And so although just to get this componentry, you're going to be dropping a couple racks, I thought it'd be really cool to package the whole bike together for $19.99. And so it is the best value, highest value ratio of any electric bicycle ever, because you cannot get dollar for dollar this value anywhere else on the planet. You cannot get this componentry at this price ratio. So we package it all together at $19.99 with the other batteries at 22 and 2400, and we are going to be shipping these at the very beginning of May. So not very far away. We're launching this March 12th for pre-order, and we're incredibly excited to get everybody riding on it.